All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Represented series. My name is Dana Wilson. I am the CEO and founder of CHIP, which stands for Changing How Individuals Prosper. We are a B2B financial services platform that makes it easier to find financial professionals of color. And I'm really excited that we have two amazing professionals from our platform on today to do one of our fireside chats. So we're really excited to get started. So I will bring them in. Welcome, Fred and Andrew.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I won't do the introduction for you all. I'll let you all do it yourselves. I'm sure you'll do it better than I will. But Andrew, we'll start with you.
Awesome. So I'm Andrew Tudor, the younger brother of the two. Background originally in business finance and then banking. Spent 5 years at a large insurance company learning insurance and investment planning. Got my CFP in 2020, and Fred was on his own journey, and we decided in 2020 to combine forces and launch Alchemist Wealth. And so really excited. We focus on working primarily with women. We love working with women of color. And recently married. I'll be 6 months married in 12 days. So who's counting? But happy to be here.
Awesome. I'm Fred. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I'm Fred, older of the two, I guess. But yeah, I was in banking also. And I was there for about 8 or 9 years. Learning a lot in the retail space, working with clients and seeing the different opportunities around how clients can better manage cash flow specifically. And so after banking, I left to do financial coaching on my own, which is the space I was in for about a year or so, which was more touch points, meeting once or twice a month. Just helping people see cash flow differently, set some goals, and be more strategic and intentional with where they spend. And being in that role for about a year, and me and Andrew passing clients back and forth from my space and where he was, it was when we decided to launch Alchemist Wealth together. So, wife, 3 kids, 10-year-old boy, 9-year-old girl, and 1-year-old boy. That keeps me busy.
I was going to say, I'm seeing the dynamic here. The first thing you all said is youngest, oldest. How has that been working with family and building out a practice? I mean, it's got to be amazing to really build that legacy when we talk about legacy talk.
It's great, actually, because we have a lot of different conversations on a lot of different things, more so specific to money. But I mean, there are some different things. I mean, we touch base once or twice a week, not client facing. So there's a lot of time that we get to spend together and think through things and talk through things. But also on the aspect of building something together. Just being able to, he's in his space and he learns some things, professionally and outside of the profession, just trying to gain more knowledge. And it's the same on my end. So being able to bring those together and build something together, I mean, it's been great.
Awesome. What about you, Andrew?
I agree. Our skill sets are very different as well. The way we learn, the way we problem solve. And so it's been really good. A lot of the things that I would say I'm not very strong doing are strengths of Fred's. And so we are both fans of strength finders. We know our strengths. Fred's very strategic. I'm on the influencer side and relationship build. And when you bring those together, it's really everything that I find it takes to launch, run, and serve clients really well.
That's really awesome, and extremely important, right? That you all are able to have that dynamics, find the synergies, work well together, and then even better independently, I'm sure. So we'll start with you, Andrew. What made you want to become a financial professional? Or when did you know that you were going to go down this path?
Yeah, my junior year in college, we had an investment class that I really enjoyed. And I was lucky enough to have a professor that was a practicing advisor, and we really learned by doing. So we had 20,000 fictitious dollars, and we had to trade by emailing him. And I researched the market, and I really fell in love with long-term thinking, investing, and strategy. It also helped that the top three folks at the end of the semester got an automatic A on the exam, and I came in second. So I got an A on my investments course. And from then, I really knew not only how money could be used to grow, but also I learned as I went through my banking stint and talked with my parents and folks in my community that that was a skill set that most of those folks hadn't had exposure to. And so not only was I passionate about it, but it was a need for the folks that I cared about most.
Awesome. And what about you, Fred? When did you know you wanted to be a financial professional?
I have always been a fan of numbers and math. So naturally, I gravitated towards banking. But retail banking isn't exactly, we help clients, but it's more of a sales based role where there's products that we need to sell, for lack of a better term. So in that experience in banking and just seeing how there was a lot more to offer around helping clients understand their money better. And me personally, outside of work, continuing to research and dig into how could I personally manage my money better. And as I continue to gain knowledge, I would always think that everybody knows these things. And like every now and then somebody would say like, no, everybody isn't aware of different strategies to manage debt, or everybody isn't aware of different strategies to earn more money or just to manage their cash flow. So I would say 5 years into my banking experience was when I really decided like, hey, there's more I want to do around helping clients just be better with money. So.
Awesome. And in that same vein, too, because as you just mentioned, a lot of us don't really realize that, or we make assumptions about what we think people know, right? We assume because, hey, you make or you have a six-figure salary that you know a lot about money. And I learned that too, coming in, and I'm thinking, why don't you know this, right? But it's not commonplace, especially in a lot of areas in various communities. So how do you help your clients really educate themselves, or even just kind of break down those conversations and feel comfortable and feel like, hey, this is a place for me and I can build wealth? And either of you can take that first.
I'll take it. I think we don't assume that clients know anything. I think there's an empathy in our approach where we don't expect you to know. It's not something that's taught. Really, like, how could you know? And so we've spent our career studying and learning this. It's our job to help you understand it. There are no stupid questions, and let us know if the way we're explaining it isn't making sense. Fred corrects me if I use like jargon or industry terms, because we want to make sure we're using things that normal folks can understand at a level that they could explain it to someone else. Because I think in our field, you're going to be presented with a lot of different ways to build and earn and grow. And unless you're able to articulate your plan and how you're doing it and why you're doing what you're doing, sometimes it can be tough to stay the course. So we really want to check for understanding and make sure folks feel no shame when they're having these conversations with us.
Awesome. What about you, Fred?
Yeah, I would follow up with, we stress that there is no judgment. And kind of what he said, like we we say it like, we don't expect you to know these things. If you have any questions, let us know. If there's something we say that's over your head, let us know. And it helps that we are both in the meetings with clients. So if I say something that's over someone's head, or he thinks maybe over their head, he can pitch in and piggyback. Or like sometimes if Andrew says something and I have to think twice about what he said to kind of process it, I'm like, hey, like, you need to explain that. Like, because clients, they won't say that they don't understand it. And if he's talking and he's getting through his points, and he's not really able to read that they may not understand it, and it might need a little more defining or breaking down, then and if I can read them and say, hey, like, I don't think they picked up on that. Like, can you double back? But just it helps that we're both in the meetings and just letting them know, like, hey, we don't expect you to know this. Like, we have the answers. We're in this space. We don't know all the answers. So any questions, feel free to ask at any point.
Yeah, and I think that's really important, and also speaks to the culture that you're creating within your firm, right? This place of being safe, and making sure people feel comfortable. So when it comes to building trust, and there's, so many discussions around trust and so much information out there, how are you all building real trust with your clients and even just, team members that you begin to bring into your firm?
I think it starts with our first few meetings, around setting the tone. Our first few meetings are not about making recommendations. They're about learning the client and their goals and their values, and how they approach and think when it comes to money. And I think that helps build trust, because we're right off the bat, we're just not coming out recommending stuff. And they understand that we're not going to recommend something that doesn't benefit you, which is why we're trying to learn about you first. So I think being able to build that rapport with clients really goes a long way. And some of the rapport and the topics that we talk through, specifically, just helps initially build trust right out the gate. Yeah.
Awesome. And what about you, Andrew?
I agree. I think the speed at which we get to making recommendations matters. I think the transparency about what people are paying us and what they're paying us for matters. And to be honest, saying things that advisors don't typically say around things that add value and things that don't add value, things that are strategies for some advisors around how they get compensated that we don't buy into. And so, we're typically working with a person who's hiring their first advisor, having their first in-depth financial planning meetings, really learning about how to invest and grow in a state. And so we know that, and we know that, especially if we're working with Black folks or folks of color, like, we're coming from communities that are skeptical, and rightfully so. And so just acknowledging that, like, the hesitation, not rushing folks into having to hire us, things like that really show that at the end of the day, we're on their side, and really their success is our success too.
Absolutely. And I think you hit on a really good point there, right? When we're talking about communities of color, specifically Black communities, for, multitudes of reasons that we won't have time to go into today, have built up this mistrust, not just within the industry, but just also with professionals, and also maybe professionals that look like them. But at the same time, there's a blessing in being able to say, hey, I understand, why you feel that way, and just bring it to the forefront so you can kind of talk about it, address it, so that they are able to move forward and really start to build the financial plan that they want to, and leave the legacy they want to for their family. So it's good to hear you all acknowledge that and talk through that as a part of your practice. So when it comes to, financial freedom and financial steps, and us thinking about retirement, and if people even still kind of use that word anymore, what do you suggest to clients, or how do you walk clients through the path of them looking at their next phases of life? And what are your biggest suggestions to them at that point?
I'll start and then I'll let Fred chime in. We really talk to clients first and foremost about how they're earning and how much they're spending. We don't make any recommendations until we understand cash flow. Fred does a wonderful job of really digging into the cash flow and how money flows in and out of their accounts. And so we really love to educate folks around like the importance of saving. We usually give them a target savings number based on their income. And we try to relate that savings number to their specific need for spending now and in the future. I find that it's really hard to sacrifice today for a future goal that's not very clear. And so we want them to be clear on what the future looks like in their mind through our goal setting. We want to be clear about how money may flow through their accounts later on, and then making sure that they understand how much they're spending and what that means if we're looking at being financially free in 20 years or 10 years or whatever that timeline is. So I think making it digestible, but also crystal clear around the goals and then what it really takes to hit that goal financially in the future is how we go about it.
I think it's important, and if I don't answer the question, let me know. But I think it's important and it helps us that we help different clients in different phases or stages that are doing different things. And if we come across a client that is in one phase of earning or making money and saving, and we've seen how things could be different for them based on another client's experience and another client's history, we can kind of guide them in their thinking and in their goal setting around some things that they can do, some small changes that they can make, and how that'll impact them 2, 3, 4 years down the line. But I think it's also important what Andrew said about clients not being able to see what it looks like in the future. And so us being able to help them think through that. Hey, 1 year, what's the goal? All right, 5 years, what is the goal? Hey, 20 years, like you may not have thought about this before, but what do you envision? What do you think things will look like? What would you like for things to look like? So helping them create the vision and see what it could look like and see the possibilities helps in goal creating and being able to stick to the goal and stick to the plan.
Awesome. Yeah, that is really important. Understanding the goals, who you are with your money, and kind of all the things that align with that. So what types of clients do you all tend to work with? Is there a specific age, income range? Do you all work with small businesses? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I can take it. We tend to work with women, women of color, and couples. And we like working with women because, I'll be frank, they tend to seek advice more than men do. And
now let's talk about that.
I don't think I'm saying nothing that nobody don't know. But I mean, I mean, it's hard for men to seek advice for one reason or another that we won't talk through. But women are more likely to seek advice. And then when it's given, it's hard for men to, or it can be harder for them to act on the advice and take the advice without thinking they know the answers and can do it. And women are a lot of times like, hey, I need this. And we provide the path and we help them walk it. And it's an enjoyable journey. So women, but that's not to say we don't work with men, because we do. We have a few male clients, but women of color, if we're being more specific, and then families.
Awesome. Anything to add, Andrew? You were like, I feel like I was like reading your face. Like you wanted
No,
to
no, he's right. I mean, we work with women. They ask for our help. They take our advice. They appreciate it. They pay for it, and they tell their friends. And on the business owner side, we do work with a few business owners. We make sure to let them know that we do not say that we are business coaches or business experts. We run businesses, multiple, each of us. We've had access to business. In banking, we work with business owners and lending. So we know a lot about business, but I think it's important to state your expertise and be clear about where your boundaries are and what we're willing to charge people for. So we stay on the personal side for most business owners, but it bleeds into it. And we also have a couple of retired clients. And so I think it's been really helpful in that pre-retirement space, having the conversations. I have my retirement income designation, so we know how to do and put a retirement income plan in place. But Fred mentioned it earlier. It's really helpful to hear, watch, see those folks transition, and it allows us to give some of their thoughts, concerns, experiences back to our younger clients as foresight and wisdom. And so that's been really, really great too. So we're mostly 30s and 40s with our families, but we do have a few folks in their late 50s and early 60s that work with us. And we love working with them as well.
Awesome. So it looks like you all have a really good handle on kind of your audience, your customer, and how you work with them. What do you feel, and we can start with you, Fred, what do you feel like holds people back when it comes to hitting their financial goals?
I think that question is twofold. I don't think people set goals, and I think that could be one of the bigger areas that holds people back. But the other piece of that is I think people need to have a different mindset about what's possible. Relating to when we're trying to set long-term goals, them not being able to envision what it could look like or see what it could look like. And I think a lot of that is relative to their mindset is different. Like they don't think it's possible. So if they do set a goal, it's a limited goal, which they may hit, but they also may not. So that was twofold, and I don't know if that answered the question. But
no, it did.
Yeah, I would say when clients do set goals, like it's important for them to set SMART goals, which specific, measurable, attainable. So something that you can reach, that's relative, that makes sense, and then you put a time on it. So if you're not setting a clear goal, I mean that'll be a hindrance also.
And kind of in that same vein, Andrew, how do we empower people to set those goals? How do we really make, champions and say, hey, this is something that you should be excited about, right? We know finance isn't always the sexy, fun, exciting thing to talk about, but how do we get people excited about it? How do you motivate your clients or just people that you talk to in general?
Yeah. I think by stories and experiences. I think it's important to know people who came from where you come from think the way you think, or at least used to think the way you think, making that transformation. For me, in a lot of areas of my life, it takes me seeing an example to figure out I can do that. When we were looking to launch this business, I needed to see another Black male advisor running a business, working with young professionals and being profitable, because I looked for those success clues. And so I think it's important to give them examples of people that you've helped or people that that have walked the path they're looking to walk. That motivates that. But I also think, motivation can be fickle. It can be not long lasting. I think the plan, and more importantly, we tell clients one of our biggest value adds is the accountability factor. Most areas of my life that I've made drastic changes, I always had a coach. I grew up playing football and basketball. We played like 5 different sports, but our father's a football and basketball coach for high school right now. Whether it be a business coach that I hired, a mentor, therapist, all of those people not only helped me put it together, which I found is the easy part, but actually helped me walk through it when I didn't feel like it or in the hard part. So I think motivation is one end, but that accountability, that ongoing encouragement, a reminder of why you set the goal in the first place. We usually come back to that in a lot of our meetings. Those things help people see through some of the difficult goal setting and kind of trailblazing.
Awesome. Really, really great response. And I well, obviously, you know why CHIP exists, right? It's to make sure that we're seeing everyone who's in the business, so that we see those faces. We know that we can do this not just as an owner, but also as a customer of financial services and financial products. So as we kind of bring up a little bit of the product part, how do you both feel? And we'll start with Fred first. How do you feel technology has really made a difference in how we see more accessibility as it comes to professionals running their business, so how you all run your business, and then also the tools that you're able to provide to your clients? How do you think technology has really played a role in making that shift and making things easier? Oh, Fred, I think you're on mute.
I am, you're right. Technology has given access to information, all the information. So if there's something you want to learn or there's something you want to get better at, technology has given the ability to click it on YouTube, do a Google search, and a lot of the information is good information. But specifically in our space and in our business, technology has given us the ability to be virtual, which saves time on our end. I think it saves time on the client's end. You don't have to, there's no drive time from meeting to meeting. There's less tear down and set up from meeting to meeting, which I think is a benefit. I mean, we've come across certain age clientele to where it can be hard to do things virtually, and it can be hard for things to be all electronic. But I'm a big fan of it. And anytime there's some information that I need, it doesn't matter what the subject or the topic is. I'll check YouTube, I'll check Google, and I'll do my research and due diligence there. And I also think it helps that experts that know the information they're presenting their information to the market, and you can get all the information electronically online. So I mean, I think there's a lot of benefits and a lot of feasibility and access that helps, specific to our space, but just all spaces in general.
And I'll pass it over to you, Andrew, if you wanted to add anything.
Yeah, I think with technology, there are 2 areas. One, we have the ability to work with clients all over the United States from our homes. So the first 4.5 years of my career, I really only worked with people in the Cincinnati and greater Cincinnati area. They drove into my office. We rescheduled when traffic was bad. But now that we have national scope, someone in California, someone in Texas, someone in St. Louis, someone in DC, someone in New York can have access to us just like they live down the street. And that's been a game changer for our business, but also it's been a game changer for the client. They don't have to rely on, if they're in a community where all of the advisors are white dudes, they don't have to just settle for working with someone who doesn't really understand their values, their beliefs, their culture, and be relatable. So I think it's helped us to get to those clients, and it's really helped those clients to get to us.
Awesome. And yeah, you make a great point, right? Especially with the ease of accessibility, and even just what we realized kind of going through COVID and still kind of going through it to some degree, is that, hey, you don't have to just work with who is in your backyard. You really can open up the world and know that, hey, as long as you build a great rapport and great relationship with someone, they can be across the country with you. And technology has done that. The ability that virtual offices aren't as taboo as they were before, right? It was like, oh, if they couldn't find your office in a brick and mortar, you just kind of seemed a little sketchy.
Right.
But that's no longer the case. I would say now it's the reverse of people trying to figure out, well, why do you have an office, right? It just also kind of starts to not make sense. As we look to sort of close out here, what are your top 3 helpful tips for someone to take control of their financial life? And Andrew, we'll start back with you.
Yes. The number one indicator of financial success is what percentage of your income are you saving? We work very hard and diligently with clients to move them towards saving 20% of every dollar they make. And that's difficult at every level. It's just as difficult, or it's difficult to do it if you make 50,000 or if you make 500,000 a year, but it's very important to do long term. And so the biggest thing is really moving folks there. Number 2 is making it automatic so they don't have to think about it, or more importantly, they don't have to feel like saving to save. They don't have to feel like investing to invest. And then my third one would be, I highly recommend investing on a weekly basis. It's something that me and my wife started as soon as we got married, that we transfer money. And no matter how little it is to start, we transfer money from our checking account to our investment account on Mondays. And then we go to the market and look at what we like to buy. And it's given us the opportunity to really track and see and be in the investment market on a regular basis and start to see and really internalize the trends.
That's awesome. And what about you, Fred?
3 things that I would encourage. Number 1 is to know your money, or know where your money's going. It's in banking, I experienced the bank paid a lot of people a lot of money to know where their money was going, to know how much money was going there, and if the projected amount wasn't the actual amount, they had to write up a summary as to why that wasn't the case. And one of the reasons I stepped away from banking to walk into financial coaching was the thought that businesses and bigger companies in general pay a lot of money and a lot of focus to where the money is going, but like why on the personal level do people not pay that much attention? So I think the one thing is to know where your money's going. And that doesn't mean making changes right away. But if there are some changes you want to make, then I would encourage you to set goals, and to set SMART goals. So specific, measurable, attainable, relative, and timely goals, or time sensitive goals. And then like once you're able to set goals that make sense, find somebody to hold you accountable. So if you're in a relationship, that could be a partner, or even if you're in a relationship, it doesn't have to be a partner if that's hard. But just find somebody that, hey, this is what I'm trying to do with my money. Can you check in with me every other week, see how things are going, just to make sure I'm striding to where I want to be. So know your money, set goals, and then find somebody to hold you accountable.
Awesome. And yeah, that accountability group or person, whomever that is, or if it's your professional, right? If it's your client reaching out to you. So, it's never fun unless there's always a surprise question. All right. So let's see here. If you were to create any superhero that has never existed, who would that person be? What would their name what would their name be, and what would their superpower be? So we'll pause for like 5 seconds, and I'll let you all think, and then we'll return. Sorry, we don't have a commercial.
Commercial break. Fred, you got it. You're up, man.
I thought of the superhero I didn't give him a name. This might be kind of corny, but I'm going with it anyway. I thought of the superhero and what they could do, and it would be to see into the future. There might be heroes that do that already, but I thought of it because I think it helps everybody to envision what they want things to look like when it comes to getting to where you want to be. And right as I thought of that, the name that popped in my head was Bruno. So I guess that's what he does. So I have to name him Bruno, and that's what he was.
Nice. All right. So we're looking out for Bruno.
Yeah.
Who are you rocking with, Andrew? Who's your superhero?
My superhero would be reparations man or reparations woman. Like, find someone who deserves some reparations, and like it's like magic, and all of a sudden the checks are there and the money's there and the wealth is there. So
please, let's find reparations man or woman now.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that meme. You know that meme where the person is just like this with the sprinkle?
Salt Bay. Yeah, that'd be nice, but it would just be reparations.
Reparations, just walking around. I think we need that. Let's channel that.
Yeah. I'll start writing that comic book now.
Please do. Well, thank you both for coming on, and we definitely want to make sure people know where to find you. So please let everyone know where to do that.
Yeah, our website is www.alchemistwealth.com. On Instagram and Facebook, you can find us at Alchemist Wealth. And those are the best places. We give a lot of tips and hints, and there are links to all the things we do in any event. So yeah, find us with Alchemist Wealth, and go read The Alchemist. It's right behind Fred. It's our favorite book. I think it'll be helpful.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the Represented series. It was really a pleasure. And everyone, please stay tuned for more. So we'll see you all soon.
Take care.